Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Change Now podcast episode. Today we are going to talk about Shane, with first of all Lisa, journalist in Sud-Ouest Periodics, then Tancrède, member of Sourire d'Orphelin Association, who struggle for the cause of Uyghur, and then Michael, PhD doctors in CNRS in Angers, relative to the subject of ecology and energy. So maybe I will start with you, Lisa. So I saw Shane will have a pop-up store in Angers. Can you tell me more about this?
Yeah, sure. Shane, which is a large online fast fashion brand that I think you know, plans to open its first permanent physical store in France, and one of them will be in the Galeries Lafayette in Angers. She will also open in other cities like Grenoble, Dijon, Limoges, and Reims. And the opening is expected in November 2025.
Okay, and what was the reaction for the mayor's Angers city mayor?
The mayor of Angers, which is Christophe Béchu, says that Angers did not choose chain, and he criticized the chain's business model as being ultra-fast fashion. The products are cheaply made, often not worn for long, and quickly thrown away. He also says this model would destroy natural resources, threaten jobs and local craftsmanship, and he posts a lot in LinkedIn against this project.
Okay, with a point of view more critical, do you think country or mayor should be able to avoid this type of installation?
I think it is unlikely that French or the mayor can completely stop the chain stores because chain has made a deal with SGM, which is the Société des Grands Magasins, and this SGM controls many of the Galeries Lafayette in several cities. In addition to that, chain promised to create jobs. I think it's about 200 direct and indirect, and to revitalize city center by bringing more chopper. So I think it will be complicated, but there are also obstacles. The Galeries Lafayette group itself is strongly opposed to the move, and they said that chain practice, especially around ultra-fast fashion, are incompatible with their premium image and value. And the regulator, environmental and workers' rights group are also very critical, and I think they may push for legal or policy barriers. There is a petition of 70,000 people against the project, and this is actually available on internet.
Okay, and last question for you, Lisa. How react other brands sold in Galeries Lafayette store?
Other brands in Galeries Lafayette are reacting with concern and opposition. Some brands are withdrawing their products from store where Shane is arriving because they feel Shane's model contradicts their ethical or environmental value. This is the case for Odari and Figueret, for example. These two brands have made the choice. There is anger and disappointment, especially from local fashion and clothing businesses who feel they will face unfair competition.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Then now we are talking about another axis of this subject. So with Tancrède, can you explain us why these brands are so boycotted?
Of course, it's pretty simple. So a lot of people are boycotting brands like Shein because they link to really serious human rights issues. So many of their clothes come from places where the working conditions are, let's say, not very clear. So there are reports showing that part of their cotton, the materials, come from forced labor in the region in China, the Xinjiang region, where Uyghur people are being exploited. So that's a big deal. And today, more and more young people actually care about what's behind the cloth. And so when they hear about things like forced labor, they just don't want to support those brands anymore.
Okay, so you answer to my second question, but if you want to answer more, Can you explain us more in detail what happened in this Chinese plant?
Yes, I can. So in this region that I talked, in the Xinjiang region, so many Uyghur people are basically forced to work in factories, so they don't want really have a choice. They move away from their home and placed under strict control with cameras everywhere. The working conditions are really tough, long hours, low paid, and very little freedom. So officially, the government call it is a poverty reduction program, but in reality, it's a forced labor. And what make it worse in that the supply chain is super complicated. So many brands might be using materials from these factories without even realizing it. That's why it's such a big issue.
Okay, thank you. Except the Uyghur, are there any other case of population exploitation of population in the world?
Yes, unfortunately, it's not just happening in China. So we can take the Bangladesh, for example. In 2013, a textile factory called Wana Plaza collapsed and killed more than 1,100 workers. And most of them were women working for very low salaries in terrible conditions. And I can give you another example in Congo. So a lot of people, including children, work in a dangerous mine to extract mineral we use for phone and electric cars. So the problem is global. It's not just one place or one brand.
Okay, thank you. Last question for you, Tancrède. What is the ethical trends at this subject for the new generation?
Honestly, I think the new generation is changing the game. Young people today are much more aware of what's going on behind the clothes they buy. So they want transparency, they want fair working condition, and they use social media to call out bad practices. So we can see more people buying a second-hand cloth or supporting smaller, more ethical brands. Of course, sustainable fashion can be more expensive, so not everyone can afford it, but the mindset is shifting, and this generation is pushing big brands to be more responsible, whether those brands like it or not.
Okay, thank you, Tancred. Now I will talk to you, Michael. I read that this phenomenon have also strong ecological impact. Is that true?
Yes, this is true. So in 2015, clothing and shoes accounted for 2.4% of global greenhouse gas emissions, 2% of water use, and 2.2% of water scarcity impact. The same sector only accounted for 1.4% of wages and income. This is a very large disparity between the resources used and the wages put back into the economy. Letting large amounts of greenhouse gases into the environment is naturally bad for ecology and has a catastrophic impact on all living things.
Okay, thank you. And at what extent it's a problem at the planet level, that people overconsumption?
So the fast fashion industry by its very nature is not a sustainable practice. It involves creating as much clothing as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible. In a world which does not have unlimited resources, this is problematic. We are using too many resources and we are not getting the maximum use out of them. Fast fashion is often poor quality clothes, which does not last long. This means people will throw them out and buy some more cheap clothes, using up more resources. Developing countries such as China and India are the backbone of the fast fashion industry. These countries use their vast amounts of resources to produce clothing at a low cost and often a low quality. This is then transported halfway around the world to rich countries such as the USA, where it is purchased from cheap websites and shops such as Shein.
Okay, thank you. For our listener, can you give us some key figures? Can you show us the consequences of this overconsumption?
Yes, I can. So unlike in other countries such as the USA, where other industries have the economy, using China as an example, China relies heavily on production in order to improve its GDP. According to the World Bank, the air pollution in China ranks among the highest in the world. According to the World Bank, recently in certain cities of China, the air pollution and smog impair visibility, become so much that sometimes airports are temporarily forced to shut down. The healthcare costs have subsequently increased as a result of environmental pollutions of the country. So not only is fast fashion bad for the environment, it also causes health concerns in China. China requires 50% more energy to produce $1 billion of GDP compared with the USA. When the UNFCCC was opened for signature in 1992, the already industrialized countries emitted almost 80% of the global CO2 from energy and industry. At that time, global CO2 emissions of the USA, the EU and China were about 23, 20 and 11. Unfortunately, in 2013, global CO2 emissions of China becomes 21%. Respectively, at the same period, all the developing countries contributed about 1/3 of global CO2 emissions.
Okay, thank you. Last question for you, Michael. Do we know the part of these consequences is created because of brands like Temu, Shein, Alibaba or Wish, or not?
Yes, so brands like Temu or Shein use up lots of resources to mass produce poor quality products. For example, you could buy a t-shirt on Shein for €5. It would last you a year and you'd throw it out and buy another one. These brands are mass producing products, then sending it halfway across the world by boat, by plane, causing further damage to the environment. Therefore, these brands have a much higher carbon footprint than any other local brands who don't have to transport clothes halfway around the world.
Okay. Thank you so much for you three. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Tancrède. Thank you, Michael. Thank you to all our listeners. Of course, we will update you about the subject of Shein in Angers. And see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.